Okay. So I promised to show you how we've seen how we can get our contacts into mail, but many times it's more important to get how do we fill our contacts? And you saw how I did that test group, AAA test, and it showed up on my iPad and everything just perfectly. Well, I sent myself an email here because I don't. Oh, actually, you know what? I got to get rid of this. Let's go to one more housekeeping thing on our mail application. Everybody see where you go into a mail like this and it's got all these different back and forths and all that here? Who likes it? Hate it? Hate it. All right, so how much time do we have? Okay, I'll show you how to turn it off. Okay, everybody get your pencils and papers out. You may have to refer to the recording.
And is this for Mac or for everything?
I'll show you on the iPad also. So you can see here it's conversational mode, that's what it's called. So what do we want to do? We want to look how we want to view our things differently, right? Okay, so step 1, this is not a 12-step process. This is a 5-step process. Oh, it's up there. Sorry, thank you. So that's good enough. All right. So get ready. There's 6 steps. So the first step is go up to View. The second step is click on View. The third step is click on Organize by Conversation. See, it's checked. Boom. Step 4 is say thank you, Ken, and clap your hands together. Because I hate it. Everybody hates it. Let's look back at how that is. It comes on by default, so it's just a toggle. Each time I hit it, it goes one the other way. There's sometimes when it's really useful, but not very often. But a lot of people handle their mail that way. So
you want it clicked.
You want it not checked. And then when every time I click on it, it changes it from check to non-check. It changes its state. Think about it like a light switch. It's on or it's off, okay? And the light switch is on until you turn it off the next time, right? Okay? So Organized by Conversation is off. All right. So on the iPad and the iPhone, it's not handled in Mail. Our preferences are in Settings. And you know what's funny is I'm flying blind here. Then I click on Mail and Contacts. And it's called Organize by Thread. It's not called Conversational Mode. It's called Organize by Thread. I leave it on my iPad. It's not a problem. It's not as bad as on the Mac, but if you turn Organize by Thread, press the button and turn it off, it'll turn off Conversational Mode on your iPad. Okay? Same thing on your iPhone and your iPod Touch, any iOS device. All right? We'll talk about signatures in a little bit, but now it's been boring. Let's have fun. So I don't get enough email. You can tell since I have 5,700 messages but I decided to send myself an email. And I'm going to click on this email right here, and I'm going to bring it up. Who would like to go to the party of the century? Okay? We had the trial of the century. Yeah, which one? Party of the century. Well, the party of the century is coming up. And someone sent me this invite. I sent it to myself. But someone sent me this invite to the party of the century. And it says, make sure you come to the party of the century. Well, okay. When is it? It's February 3rd. Well, I can go to calendar and see what's going on. But if I move my cursor over this, look what happens. It's called a data detector. Now, if I click on this, it brings up my calendar. My hands never left my wrists, I promise, okay? It also culled the information out of where the address was for that. It put in 10 p.m. and it titled it. I could edit this and say, must go. Okay? Now, that allows me to look at it on a calendar to see if I have any other conflicting parties, but I don't. Actually, earlier in the day, there's a Philadelphia-San Jose game. I always have that on my calendar. Pete Losey and I are going to the Sharks game tonight, so that'll be fun. Add to calendar. So I've added it to the calendar right from within Mail. But Ken, can I do that on my iOS device? Well, okay. So if I go to my iOS device and I show here, you'll notice I don't have a mouse, but I've got a finger. It's underlined. It's a hyperlink. When I tap that and hold, I press and hold, I get create event or show in calendar or copy. But create event, show in calendar or copy. I'm not going to create this event because I already have. But I can just say show in calendar. And I go, oh, okay. Well, it hasn't synced over that I have the other thing yet anyway. Oh, now that's funny. Oh, yeah, February 3rd. It showed me in the calendar where it was. So I'm going to go back to Mail. Come on, iPad. Ooh. Whoa. Okay. Shh. Everybody turn your head. I was asking it to do a lot. Now, that little thing is a data detector. So that's how I added it to my calendar. But look at now what happens when I go to calendar on my Mac. Well, I'm going to close this email, okay? Because I keep going on because this party's a week or so from now. And if I go to my calendar, and iPad is fired back up. And, you know, I just do my iPad. Look at here, here's Party of the Century. So if I click on that, if I double click on it, it shows, oh, there's all the information. But there was a secret password in the email on how to get in. And there was a map to how to get there. Oh, man, look at this. Show in Mail. And it fires up that email. Don't delete your email. This found it. So, what's the password? Open Sesame. Now, I'm getting ready to go to the party and I'm on the road and I want to see what it says. So I had to go in and I said show in Mail from calendar. Okay? And all the other information is here and it set an alarm. I do calendar classes, show you that. But how easy was that to put that information in your calendar directly from it? So, I'm going to switch to the iPad here. I've clicked on it. Remember, I didn't add it from the iPad. I added it from the Mac, but the same would apply if I added it from the iPad. Show message in Mail. Right there. All right? Is your calendar going to get full now? Real easy? Question?
Are you running on the OS 7 on the Mac?
Of course.
How come on mine I'm seeing gray type? And it's
How come my fonts are bigger and darker?
Well, no, it's on top of a light blue background. You have the green, but it's not.
Oh, that's the color of the calendar. The color of the calendar here. I have calendar classes that you would love.
Yes, I would.
I'll show you really quick how to change the color of a calendar. I control-click on this, get info, and now I can change the color of the calendar.
You're on the Mac?
Yes.
Oh, see, it's the iPad.
Well, okay, hang on. Calendars. Calendars, watch.
I'm not changing the screen yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, don't watch. Okay, so if I go into calendars at the bottom, and I select the I to the right-hand side, now I can choose another color.
May I ask another question on this?
On calendar,
Just a quick. I wonder-
everybody always calls and they say, can I have a really quick question?
4 hours later.
Really quick questions lead to really long answers. Go ahead.
I don't think this one will go.
No, go ahead.
I want to write something in my 2015 calendar. I can bring up the calendar, but I don't know how I can get words in there. It won't let me. On the iPad. Is it clicking on calendar again down there?
Gosh, I'd have to go. Hang on. Well, the problem is you have to spin to get there. Do you have Siri on your calendar?
I'm not sure if I do or not. But you can't go just down, like up above there. To
Well, yeah, and you have to click on the thing. You should be able to go 2015 there. I'm in October.
and just try to write something on any of it.
So I'm going to tap here.
It wouldn't let me.
Yeah, see, it doesn't do it directly because you have to hit plus. And there I am. I'm November 18th or November 8th, 2015, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, so you can't. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You have to be scrolled to it. And then remember to get back to where you are, hit today, and it gets you right back there quickly.
Thank you very much.
Okay? So, back to, I'm not going to change that calendar color. Back to mail. We have another data detector in here that's really cool. If I hover over a properly formed address, and I click on that, it shows me on a map, so I could open it in Maps if I want. Boom, open in Maps, Apple Maps, right? But if I go here, I can easily make a new contact for this person or add to existing. And if I say any of those, I can go in here when I say that, and I can go, I hit new contact. I can go through and edit any of this stuff right now that I want. In fact, I can take, and I'll put in the notes for this person, Open Sesame. Okay? As I'm adding it to the contacts. So now, it's so easy from mail to add it to people's contacts. Or add them to your contacts. I'll show you how it happens in the iPad. Again, you see that everything's highlighted here. So if I press and hold, open in Maps or add to contacts.
It must be in that specific format.
It's pretty broad. It has to be close. But most of the time, like in this case, that's the footer, that's the signature on my email. Ooh, signatures. How about that? So any questions on adding calendar events or adding contacts from your mail?
The word copy. If you click on copy, where are you copying it to?
To the clipboard. Clipboard. That's an interesting concept. Think back in the analog days when we had clipboards. The idea, I'm sorry?
And carbon paper.
Yeah. Basically, what copy does is, anywhere, whether I highlight something and I copy and paste, I am taking whatever it is I've copied. It's on this internal clipboard on any of my devices, only on that device, the one you copy it from. And I go over somewhere else and I say, oh, place it here, paste it. Okay?
Where do you paste it to where you can find it?
Well, that's not, see, it's more like if you're going to, like, okay, let me give you an example on the iPad here. If I'm going to press and hold, and I'm going to say select all that and copy. Okay? Now I'm going to fire up a new email, and in the body, I want to paste what I copied. Copy and paste. Okay?
That's the only place you can waste it.
I can paste it anywhere I can type. I could have put that up an address, but it wouldn't have done me any good.
Ken, one other question. At the top of your email, is that little folder next to the flag?
That's to put your email in a different folder. Like if I want to send this email to a different folder, to junk, to trash, whatever. Okay? The little action arrow is reply, reply to all. Save 3 images. Now this is interesting. If I want to save those images to my photo, or let's go to our Mac, and if you hover over here, I can export those 3 things to iPhoto from my mail. People send you photos in an email, right? I can go to the iPad and click Save 3 Images. It saves it to the camera roll on your iOS device. And on your Mac, you hover. See, it goes away until I hover up here. And I can either save all the images. I don't want to just save those to the desktop. I would save these and export them right to iPhoto. And what those images are is this graphic here, and this graphic here. This graphic is me. Yes?
What if I have an email that's important that I don't want to
Don't delete it.
just leave it, or am I supposed to put it somewhere where I won't accidentally delete it?
However you want to do it. You won't accidentally delete it unless you click on it and hit delete.
Yeah.
You can save it to folders on the side. And some people do that. I find that if I save it in a folder, I forget about it. So, before we go to signatures, let's talk about how we search for things. Because this is probably the most powerful tool for mail in general. Up here in the top, everywhere you see a magnifying glass, you can search. Let's search for MacNexus. So, I'm searching under MacNexus right here. Now, a lot of these people are MacNexus email addresses. These are subjects. And I'm saying search that. But the interesting thing is I'm only searching my inbox, and this is important. If I want to search all, I'm searching more things. And I can search message contains. That means anywhere, whether it's in an email address or in the body of it. These are people that have a MacNexus email address. These are subjects, okay?
If you had eliminated an email, erased it.
If it's gone, it's gone.
Oh, okay. All right.
Now, that brings up a good point, and this is important because mail preferences, when Apple ships it, in general, it has junk unselected. Many times, if you're looking for an email that you think you should have gotten, it may have gone into your junk folder. So you do want, trash is selected by default, but you want to activate junk also so that it will search your junk folder because you can get what's called a false positive into your junk folder. Go ahead.
Are you then saying never delete the junk mail?
Nope.
Okay.
I tell my junk folder to empty after 30 minutes. Let's go to signatures, and then we're going to talk about folder. I'm 30 days. We'll go to folders and talk about management on that. Let's see here. Where is? Oh, I'm going to get rid of this. Party of the century. Okay. Now, signatures are something you can attach to the bottom of a mail. This right here is my signature. Okay? I'm going to show you how to do signatures on the Mac, and then I'm going to show you how to do it on the iPad. So if I go up to Mail, come down to Preferences, and it's pretty amazing. We come across here and we say, Signatures. So, we're going to create a new signature. Now, you'll notice I have multiple email accounts. Okay? You have to create the signature first up in all signatures. So I'm going to hit plus, and I'm going to call the signature test 3 dash, oh, we're not 3-1, we're 2-1, 14. There we go. It automatically fills this in because that's kind of what I have, okay? That's just what's in there, but I can do this whatever I want. In my signature, I sometimes put use Siri, comma, sometimes she makes mistakes, comma, but she still types better than I do, period. Okay? So that could be my signature. In fact, on my iOS devices, I like that because it gives me, I all of a sudden have complete covenants to say whatever I want because I can blame it on Siri. All right, so I have made, in fact, you know what? This one would be more described as Siri. So I'm going to call that signature. Excuse me, this. Hi, Jesse, old buddy. I'm teaching a class. I'll call you as soon as I'm done. Is it urgent? Did someone die? No. All right, buddy, bye. He's my best friend. All right. And he never leaves voicemail messages. And you never leave one with him because he never checks them. And his VCR still flashes 12. But his wife has an iPhone. So I've made this signature. Now this signature is not in any of my mail accounts. So what I have to do is, if I go to my iCloud, you can see there's no Siri signature there. There's no Siri signature there. I have to tell it by dragging it, I want Siri to be available there. I want Siri to be available there. I want Siri to be available now. And now you see that I have two different signatures on this Gmail account. I actually don't want it on this one because this is an account I use for other stuff, so I'm going to hit a minus there. So, oh, that one actually is okay because where'd they get the giraffe thing? That's pretty cool. Oh, this is the one I don't want Siri on, so I'll move Siri here. So now, what's really cool is I've made these signatures and I've moved them to my accounts. But if I go up here to my Siri and I change it and say, have a great day. I'm at signatures and I'm changing the Siri signature and look what happens. My Siri signature got changed everywhere that signature is. Okay? So you think of the main signatures at the top as the repository for all your signatures.
Ken,
Yes?
it had highlighted type because it needed
It was we'll go over that in dictation, Siri. It may have, it thinks I may have spoke contextually wrong. So, all right, so now, here's our Siri signature. Now when I go to my account, like this Gmail account here, if you look down here, I have choose signature. I can choose, this means this would be the default. So in other words, whenever I send email from that account, do I want the Siri signature? Do I want the class test signature? Or do I want them to rotate in random? Or do I want to have them go in sequential order? Or do I want to have none? So I'm going to click Siri for right now. And I'm going to go out here and do new message. And it's going to be from, which Gmail is that? Not that one. Oh gosh. Sorry. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
And this is all from the map.
I'm sorry?
This is all from the map.
Yes, but I'm going to show you how to do it on the iPad here in a second. So my signature here, I'm going to tell it to be Siri for this one. Please remind me to turn it back because I would hate for this one to go out like it. So new message, from the AHA merchandising account, you'll see it says Siri over here as my signature. The nice thing is, that was the default, right? I can still choose which one I want. I can say none, or I can say the AHA. But it won't change default by doing that. Next time I throw up one, and I hit new message from that account, it's still Siri because I set that in signatures as my default. So I'm going to turn it back to what it was, AHA merch, and I'm going to actually get rid of Siri so I don't make that mistake. And that's it. That's signatures. Yes, you can put an image in it. It's a little difficult, and it has to have, it has to be a small enough graphic. I'll show you how to do it briefly. It doesn't work on the iOS device. So if I go to Accounts, oops, Mail Preferences, and I go into Signatures, Siri was with one I made. Ooh, how did I do that? So if I go to, I think I can copy and paste. See, let's try this. Here is this one. I'm copying that image. Oops. Drag it from the desktop. Mac guy. JPEG. I found an image, and I'm dragging it over my signature, and there it is. Okay? Go find an image. It has to be small, though, because you'll see what happens on some of these. That's like way too big for a signature. It's like 1984 again, right?
What size would you recommend?
I do it by size. I just look at it and try, and then you can, in preview, you can make it bigger and smaller, so you kind of have to edit it. But you don't want it to be big because then it's treated like a big old attachment. The bigger you make it, the more it slows down mail and stuff. But it needs to be just pretty small. You could do a footer on it, but the problem is then it kind of spans the width and stuff. So I think like 200 by 300, somewhere around in there. You had a question first, and I'll come to you, Bart.
My signature box is empty. How do I get things into it?
So do you have an all signatures like this right here? Do you have an all, are you in signatures?
Yeah.
Do you have all signatures at the top? So you start out by just hitting the plus sign right here. And when you hit the plus sign, watch this, it fills in signature number 10, and you can start typing whatever you want to call it. And then once you've named it, you go to the right-hand side and you put the information you want there.
And then you just copy that.
Yeah, I have some signatures where I have my street address and my phone number. Some of them I just have my name and email address. And you can choose that as you go and have whatever you want on it. If you're really good and you have a bunch of quotes you like, you could have 20 different signatures, and then that's where you could say show them in random order, and people would have quotes that would show up at different times. So that's signatures for the Mac. Go ahead, Bart.
Once you create a signature on your Mac,
No, it doesn't go over.
it doesn't.
No. It may in the future, but now I'm going to show you how to go and do it on an iOS device.
Now, how would I get other things in? I only have Google and the rest. I don't have anything else.
That's the only account you have to send mail from.
I have, well, that takes care of
That's the only one you have to send mail from. Any account you can send mail from will show up on the left. And then remember, you make the signature. Once you've made it in signatures, you've got to drag the name of that signature down to the account. And that way it puts it in that account. So it's kind of neat. You have a repository of all the signatures you want, and you determine what accounts you want to use them on. Now on the iOS device, it's a little different. So I'm going to go into Settings, the gray gear. And in Settings, I go down to Mail, Contacts, and Calendars. And now what's really weird is I've been able to put my picture in here on my signature. And it lasts for a day. I don't know why. But if we scroll down, right here is signature. Okay? So if I tap on, now, I have multiple email accounts. I have 3 email accounts, as you can see up here. When I come down here, though, where here, remember, I could define what signatures I want with what email account. Here, I have a general, and when I hit signatures, I can tell it to work for all accounts. I can only do one signature. I cannot have multiple signatures. But if I do per account, I'm sorry, I take that back. You can do multiple signatures, but you can only do one signature per account. Where I hit per account, and I can do a different signature for each account this way. Whereas all accounts would be one signature for all. But I cannot do multiple signatures into a single account. And right now, it doesn't support images. Hopefully it will soon. I've done it. I've put my little Mac logo guy in there. There was a trick that I read about. I did it. It worked. I emailed Pete. I go, Pete, I found a way to do it. It's great. You got to do it. And then it just went away. So I don't know what the deal is. Maybe in an update, and I'll keep trying on that. But, you know, realistically, signatures are just trying to get a little point across. And a lot of times a signature is just a closing that you don't have to keep typing every time. Okay? Questions on signatures at this point?
So if I borrowed my husband's iPad, I would have to change the signature if I wanted mine to come up if he had his on it.
You guys are using the same email account, right?
Right. But if
So
I
in her
weren't-
case, they're using the same email account.
If I had a separate email account.
Well, let me show you how to, well, if you have a separate email account, you would do it per account right here. If I hit per account, then I can make a separate signature for each account. Okay? But let's show you what happens when I go to do an email from an iPad. Here's the signature. It's simply text, so I can delete it if I want, and then type in whatever I would like also. So a signature is just text, unless it's got an image on it. On your Mac, you go over here and you have the option of having no signature or signatures. Okay? This one is an image, by the way, that I put in there. But again, it doesn't work on the... Didn't image because it's got a weird font. And that font wasn't... That's in signatures. You don't have a selection of fonts or anything. If you have a fancy logo or something, you want to do an image. But the image will show up on an iOS device if you send it from the Mac. It's just your signature on an iOS device cannot currently use an image. Yes?
On that signature where you said it had kind of an unusual font, if you sent that to somebody who was looking at your email and see what they made.
Yeah, that because it's an image.
Oh,
This is a photo. See how I'm dragging it around? This is an image. And that's why I did it this way, because nothing could give me that font the way I wanted it. And so this way it's just it's an image. Whereas I can't do that on the iOS device.
And so when you're using the word image, it's almost like a PDF.
It's a picture. Yeah, almost like a PDF. It's a picture of the word. Yeah. Okay. So we got signatures. Got them on both devices. Obviously, the iPhone works the same way the iPad did there. I'm going to go through preferences fairly quickly. Refer back to the video on this. So if I go up to Mail and Preferences, the first one is General. You can tell it to check for messages automatically every minute, every 5 minutes. I don't encourage every minute because it actually kind of slows things up. Message sound, no big deal on that. You can tell it not to show your messages, inbox, etc. Add invites to calendar when somebody sends you an invitation. I make it never. You have to do it manually. But the next one, and again, select junk there. The next one is accounts. These are where your accounts are, and I want to show you mailbox behaviors. Please don't delve into here and make too many changes, but I just want to show you the junk mail. Junk mail is, remember, everything gets mailed to Gmail. Well, first of all, one reason to use Gmail is it has the best spam filter there is, because it gets more mail than anyone. And if somebody sends out 300,000 messages about a little blue pill that can change your life, you can be sure that they see that and they say, that must be spam because everybody's getting it. And they'll mark it as spam, and you won't ever see it. Gmail has a great spam filter, but you will occasionally want to go in to gmail.com, go to spam, and check your spam filter to make sure there's no false positives. Your Gmail account will delete spam after 30 days. So if you're expecting an email, you need to go into gmail.com, go into the, let's do this quickly because it is important. So I'm in my Gmail account. The way it comes is this spam folder is in this thing called More. So when you get your Gmail account, you don't see spam folder here. You come down here and click on More, and you click and drag the spam filter up to here where you can see it. Okay? So there. I want to occasionally go into my spam filter and make sure I don't have any false positives. Okay? Looks like all of these. Free quote, Allstate, Platinum credit card. Regarding website errors, hi, I'm John from TriSync Media. Your website must suck, I guess. Drobo, that shouldn't be in spam. Anyway, a lot of this stuff is in spam here. But you want to look through it, and you can search in spam for, let's say, Pete. So I'll search in spam for Pete. Nope, I don't have any spam from Pete. So I'll go back to my spam folder. Now, let's say Cloud Magic was not, oh, here's OnForce. That shouldn't be in my spam. That's interesting. That's how I get some Apple work. All right, so see this little box right here? I click on it, and I tell it it's not spam. It will then learn that anything that comes from OnForce is not spam. Because, what, OnForce? Yeah, once it does one of them, it'll do them all.
Can you check that some are, that are
If they're in the spam folder, don't worry about it. They're already spam.
but some get through to me. How can I?
We're in Gmail Direct now, or Comcast Direct, or whatever. So if I go to my inbox, Constant Irish, see, that's, I think I have that email in there, but somebody's got a thing, Chase Card Services, Dish, Johnny Garlics, I don't care about, Sweet Jack. Anyway, I could find one, and I would click on it, and then I can tell it it's spam. Report as spam. I don't want to do that in this case. But when I go to mail, if it was caught in Gmail spam filter, it never arrived to my devices. You never even know it was sent. Okay? But there's things that get through the filter. And when it gets through the filter, instead of the blue pill, you get ads about the green pill. So your mail program will try filter it into junk. Okay? So if it brings it into junk, and there's, let's see here, I just saw something. Oh, restore my account, first data. Well, that's no way that's junk. Your store account. Well, I don't have a store account, and that's, American Access Control. Okay, it's junk. All right. So if it's in junk, you can tell it it's not junk, and that means it'll come to your inbox. But let's think about this for a second. Gmail has the spam filter that filters the main amount of flam.
It's easy for you to say.
It filters the spam that it thinks is spam. We've already had to check and correct the false positives. Now, your Apple Mail client has a junk folder, a junk filter. It's getting better on the iPad and iOS, so for right now, think of there not really being a junk folder over there, okay? It will in iOS 8, I rest assured it will be there. It's there, but it's not very active. So what happens here is, it's got artificial intelligence. It'll put in the junk folder what you think is junk, but you can also tell it it's junk. So, if Bob's Burgers sends me an email, and I really don't want it in my inbox anymore, I tell Apple Mail it's junk. The next time Bob's Burgers email comes in, it'll go to my junk folder. And my junk folder is set to delete anything in the junk folder after 30 days. So I no longer see Bob's Burgers in my inbox. It goes direct to my junk folder. Just like Gmail spam, though, you want to check your junk folder for false positives too. But let's talk about junk for a second. So Bob's Burgers email comes in. Don't just delete it, because it'll never learn it's junk. Deleting it just says get rid of it. It doesn't say it's junk. It just gets rid of it. So tell it it's junk if you don't want to see it in your inbox. And then after 30 days, if you have it set that way, it will delete it. If you delete it without saying it's junk, it'll never learn it's junk. Also, if you get something in there that says it's junk and it's not, tell it it's not junk. So, before I answer your questions, I use junk as a tool. Let's say Bob's Burgers. I don't know where Bob's Burgers is, but let's say I'm heading to San Jose and that's where Bob's Burgers is, and I know I'm going to be there this afternoon and I want to see if they have any specials. Well, specials don't last longer than 30 days usually. So if I decide I'm going down there and I want to see what current specials there are, where do I go?
Junk.
I go in my junk, I look for the Bob's Burgers, and boom, I have that. It's a tool. Land's End, Eddie Bauer, Nordstrom Rack, whatever it is, if it's in your junk, you can still go get it. And remember, it's going to go away after 30 days, so it really keeps itself clean, and you don't have to deal with that in your inbox. We had some questions here first, then we'll come over there.
Yeah, Gmail seems to think that anything commercial is junk, and so it puts it in the junk folder.
No.
So that's where they end up, and I haven't directed them there. But it also doesn't provide me with a not junk option.
In Gmail?
Right, in junk,
Are you using Apple Mail?
yes.
Oh, yeah, so see, there's a weird disconnect right now in Mavericks between Gmail and that. Gmail handles mail really weird, and you're getting stuff in the inbox that's brown, right?
In addition to the black stuff.
Okay, so when you find a brown one in your inbox,
Right.
click.
Not in the inbox, no.
Well, no, but people have been getting that. So if you're in it and it's brown but it's in your inbox, click on it one time, and then you either toggle it again, junk or not junk, junk, not junk. You have to get it to the state you want.
It isn't coming into the inbox. It's only showing up, and there's a lot of new.
Only showing up where?
In the junk mail.
Okay.
Junk folder, but it doesn't have the not junk option, icon.
You'll have to click it and then click it again until what's happened is it's showing up as brown, but it didn't change the little thing.
It's not showing up as brown, it's showing up as black.
Okay, so click it and then when you click it, you'll have an option to tell it it's junk or not junk, and you may have to toggle it back and forth. Yeah, try that, because I've seen that happen in the inbox. There was another question here first, and then over here. Marilyn?
Yes, sometimes I try to junk things and it says I can only archive it.
No, that's delete.
Oh, okay. But it doesn't give me a choice of whether I want.
Archiving is deleting them.
Oh, okay.
That's the way that's the way Gmail thinks it. Gmail, rightly so, gives you tons of storage. They give you 15 gigabytes of storage, and they say you don't ever really need to delete your email. Okay. I'm not a hoarder. Really, I'm not. I always thought I might be a hoarder until I saw those shows. I know if I delete an email, I'll need it. That's all there is to it. So I don't delete my emails. Because I can go back and search them. I have great search. I don't file my emails or anything else because I have such great search capabilities I can go find them when I need them. So archive is essentially deleting it from here, but it's keeping it on the Gmail server. Okay?
Yeah, I like this, what you just described, and it sounds like it's a better way to handle unwanted email than clicking the unsubscribe button at the bottom.
Great point. I'll repeat it to you people there. Don't click unsubscribe. Okay. If Eddie Bauer, if Apple, if the Wall Street Journal sends you something and you want to unsubscribe, go for it. Okay? Because that's a legitimate person and you'll legitimately unsubscribe. I'll tell you, except for Ticketmaster and Brooke Gomez at Pasadena Honda that I keep getting mails from. Am I a little pissed? Yeah. I can't unsubscribe from Ticketmaster. I hate it. But anyway, that's my own little war. If it's not a reputable place and you hit unsubscribe, they just said, hoo-hoo, we got a live real email address. So don't hit unsubscribe, don't hit bounce, don't reply, don't tell them that you will come there with a gun and blow their head off if they send you any more, because NSA knows that and they'll take you in. But just let it go to junk. Now, if it's something that keeps going a lot, it walks into rules, which I'm going to talk about in a second, because it's really effective. So, but if you tell it it's junk, and then remember you want to set in your settings, folder settings, tell your junk to delete after 1 month old. That gives you enough time to find your false positives, and any ads over 30 days old you probably don't need. Okay?
Where is that on iPad?
It's not. And it's because they're not fully using junk yet. There's a junk folder in there, but it's not exact.
If you do it on the Mac, will it still come over to your iPad?
No, it doesn't. If you tell something junk all day long on your Mac, it doesn't know it's a junk on your iPad. Because each mail client, if you have 2 different Macs, they won't do it. Remember, they never sync together, they sync via the cloud, and that is not a two-way path for junk. So I wish it would, and I think we're getting there. Go ahead.
I might have missed this, but can you do the same thing on the Gmail website?
So on Gmail website, it's spam. And when you tell it it's spam, it'll start blocking it and go to spam. But if it goes into spam on Gmail, you never get it on your client.
That's what I meant. But
If it's something you definitely don't want, if you go into gmail.com and tell it it's spam, you're likely not to see it anymore. But again, if you want to be useful with your junk folder and you want to see these sale flyers, don't tell it it's spam. You can tell it it's junk and it'll just move it to the junk folder.
Can you also do it in Hotmail? Just set something to
What?
Hotmail.
What?
Sorry, Hotmail.
No, they should have a spam there. They might even have a junk too.
Okay.
But again, that's why the Apple didn't call it junk, because it's really just a... But remember, if it got blocked by Gmail, you never saw it to make it junk. And it's amazing how many emails get blocked. What do I have? I have 20,000... I have 229... That's actually surprising. Here's the ironic thing is, on this account, this is my throwaway email address, the one that I decided to get that I'll give out everywhere. I get less spam on that email than the ones that I try to protect. So I don't know how that works, but I've got 1 month's worth here and I got 20. See in here, oh my gosh. Gmail now gives you 25 gigabytes of storage. So while we were sitting here, we got an extra 10 gigabytes. So I just gave you an extra 10 gigabytes in your Gmail. So thank you for coming. That's all we need. Go ahead.
Will Comcast, will they also do the thing where you can...
Why do you care? You're moving. No, Comcast has a spam, and Comcast can be actually pretty... If you tell Comcast it's spam, we had this problem with some MacNexus members. Let's say they sent out a BCC to 30 people about an art show coming up or something. If the person on the other end received it and didn't just delete it, they said it's spam, when it really wasn't. It's someone they know, but it gets back to Comcast, and they were flagging all of MacNexus as spam. So if it's spam, it's saying it's spam, but you do have that. But again, it's the same filter. I just say Gmail has the best filter, but again, sometimes it's a little bit overly filtered and it might pull something out. So we were going to talk about rules. All right. There are no rules on the iOS device yet. And in my life, I try to live without rules, but that doesn't always work. So here is, I'm going to find one that I really, really, really don't need. I'll just pick Moolah. I can use it. But anyway, so I've selected an email address. So now what a rule does is, it's telling Apple Mail, this is hugely powerful. But when something's very, very powerful, do you want a 14-year-old to drive a 1,000 horsepower Porsche? Not a good idea, right? This has got a lot of power, but remember, you can really mess things up. And when I say mess things up, you can make it so you don't get some email that you really want to get. So, walk carefully and look at it, but we're going to go up into Mail Preferences, and we've got a thing across here called Rules. And I have a few rules in here. For instance, I was getting, at one point, a ton of emails from this zol.co.gw. And man, I kept hitting junk, I kept hitting spam, and somehow it kept coming through. So I established a rule. But what I'm going to do is, I have this moolah email highlighted, right? So, just like in signatures, I'm going to add a rule. So I click Add a Rule. Those other rules are already there. This is not, each rule is its own entity, okay? So this rule is going to be test moolah, whatever. So that's the name of the rule. But let's look at what I can do in these. I'm going to skip this if any for a second. Well, it's saying any recipient that contains my email address. If I want to filter moolah out, I don't want to filter out everything that contains my email address. But I could say anything that contains this email address, move the message to some other box. Not a smart thing usually, because then you'll never see it in your inbox. But let's say I want to block moolah. From is I want to block who it's from, right? From moolah. See, and since I already had moolah highlighted here, I like that I chose that as a name there, moolah. It automatically filled in who it was from because it says, oh, you must want to block this person. So I'm going to say if any of the following conditions are met, or all of the conditions, because you can do multiple ones. If the from contains this address, what do I want to do? I want to move the message to trash, let's say. Okay? So this is like Tinker Toys, connecting the dots. If something comes in from moolah, move the message to my trash. What?
Only from that email address. If they change addresses,
correct.
do it again.
So his point was if they had a different address, it would do it. But you know, if I want to fix that, I would just go up here and say anything from moolah.com. And I'm not going to do this because it's not a filter I need. But it really makes it useful. Let's say that I can make a rule that says if the sender, the message is addressed to my full name, message is not addressed to my full name. If the sender is in my contacts. So in other words, make a folder where only people that are in your contacts comes in, and then you're going to be pretty much narrow down your email. If the sender's not in my contacts, what do I want to do? Previous recipients, etc. I can just do all different kinds of rules, and this will help you manage your mail. But the thing that I really, really want you to be careful of is, I don't like to see something being told to automatically forgo your inbox and go to a folder, because we're all used to clicking on our inbox and looking for our mail. You're not going to see that mail there. I like to use this for blocking specific things. And I'll hit cancel here. And this was a good example. Oh, it's inactive, which is interesting. So this was any recipient was, because they kept changing, as you had said earlier, they kept changing the first part of the email address on this. So I told it to delete any message that comes from them. I haven't had any in a long time. Savannah, this is a friend of mine. Somebody got her Yahoo account. And everything that comes from Savannah, I just say go in there. Her name's not Savannah. It was just a message that seemed to always pop up in these emails that pretended to be from her. So that's in rules, add rule, and you can remove rules or you can just deactivate them.
Would you put your
I could, but I'd lose all Ticketmasters. But my problem with Ticketmaster is I keep trying to unsubscribe, and by law, they have to allow you to unsubscribe. They're a viable service. I have real issues with Ticketmaster and the way they operate, but I'm trying to make sure I get blocked. I go to the Stockton Thunder games occasionally, the hockey games down there, and I never, ever told Ticketmaster to start emailing me. And because I go look for tickets when I get them. I actually have a place where I can get tickets without Ticketmaster for down there, but it just...
The same problem with the Ronald Reagan Library. I cannot unsubscribe.
Then just use this rule. Tell it to go to junk or tell it to go right to delete. Okay?
Is there any way that you can send a bounce back message to the block sender that says your message has been blocked?
You don't want to. So the question is, how can I send a bounce back to the sender? Yes, I can. I can say, well, it used to be here. Bounce. Redirect. There used to be a bounce, but the problem with the bounce is they then verify. It comes back to them, not immediately, but later, and they're not going to take you off the list anyway. They're fishing with nets. They throw this big net out, and they're not worried about the fish that get away or the fish that go that way. They're just trying to grab all this. They don't manage their lists, and the bounce won't really do anything. If it's legitimate, they might, but remember, it costs them nothing to email, so it's what I pay. And you know what? I'm like you guys. I look at junk mail as a personal affront, and I could make it bother me to death. But do we get that upset when we see junk mail in our mailbox?
Yes.
But you can burn it. So the thing is, you have to realize it's there. All you can do is kind of manage it. And yeah, I get upset about the Ticketmaster thing mainly just because they won't let me unsubscribe and they won't do it. This Brooke Gomez from Honda, what happened is somebody in Pasadena named Ken Spickler bought a Honda, and somehow my Gmail address, kenspencer@gmail.com, somehow it got misentered, and I've unsubscribed to that. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't even know. I mean, so it's not one that they're just casting out. I mean, it's specifically for this person, and I'm sure he would like those emails. But, I mean, I'm getting them, and I keep trying to unsubscribe, and it's like, look, you're a legitimate business. There's laws against it. That's why I'm going to be starting this new email list that talks about deals and stuff coming up, and I'm going to use a service called MailChimp because it will actually allow you, first of all, you have to opt into the emails, and it's only going to be occasionally about just some deals and stuff. I'm not selling or benefiting from it. It's just to let you guys know when iTunes gift cards go on sale and things like that. But with MailChimp and some of these legitimate ones like Constant Contact, there are ways for you to unsubscribe, and that's the kind you can unsubscribe from, and it meets the letter of the law really well. And, if you choose to join and then later on you don't, no sweat off my nose, I'm not getting anything from it. But Richard brought up, he says, hey, I always know when the deals are out there because that's what I read all this stuff. If there's a 3-day deal on getting iTunes gift cards for 20%, you guys can sign up for it. We'll have an announcement probably in the next newsletter about it. So,
If I'm not erasing or, deleting the emails on my iPad, is there a way, because I have to scroll down in order to get the first, the ones that are more recent?
Okay, now first of all, there's no reason to delete emails on your iPad because your iPad will only show the 50 most recent emails from each account unless you really go down. See, I have multiple accounts, and then it'll say checking server. Well, but here's what happens is if I delete an email, an older one comes off the server in behind it. So, by the way to get through this scroll thing, see I'm way down here, right?
Yeah.
If I want to get to the top, I tap right here and watch. Scrolls to the top.
Now, what did you do?
Okay? All right, I'm way down, right? I'm back in.
Yeah.
All that's just yesterday's mail, okay? So I'm going to tap in the white area above all inboxes.
Above inbox?
Right above in the white, almost to the edge. And what that does, it scrolls up. Same thing applies over here.
Uh-oh.
But let's watch how it happens on, this is a great tip on Safari. So if I'm in Safari on a website, Amazon, okay. So I'm down a ways, right? To get to the top, I will tap anywhere up in the header in the white area, and it scrolls to the top of the page. Okay? So that applies in a lot of places on your Mac. Okay? I mean on your iPad and your iPhone. I think it even does it in Photos. Let me check. So if we go into Photos, and I'm in my photo stream, and tap the top and it scrolls to the top. Mine are in reverse order, actually. So, go ahead, Bob.
Is there any way that you could force it to scroll from the bottom?
No, I wish. If you have a full keyboard, you can do it on your Mac and hit page down or end. Yeah, but again, they're Oh, I got to go through them. It's tough. No, it's cumbersome. All right, I'm going to show you a few other, I think that was pretty much all the settings on our iOS devices, because there isn't a lot of choice. Oh, what you want to do is, you had notes. Somebody had notes problem. No, she left, didn't she? Okay, then we won't tell her then. Okay, under Mail, if you have multiple accounts, you want to say what account do you want the mail to go from as a default account, okay? In other words, if you don't choose a different account, which one do you want it to go from? And I'm going to show you where that is on Apple Mail. Mail Preferences. Where do you think it'd be? Under Composing. And which account do I want to have it sent from? So it's by default account of selected mailbox, which means whichever mailbox you were in. I don't like that. I want to say, okay, if I'm going to send a new email, this only applies to a new email message. I'm going to send it from one default account. And I can obviously change it once I get there, but I want it to be my default account. And the other thing I encourage you to do is deselect increase quote level. That's where those little indentations work all the way across the page when mail goes back and forth to people. Have you seen when they reply and it comes back? I don't think I have any of those emails. But I would deselect that. Now, on your iOS device, it's right here also, increase quote level is off. It comes on by default. So I'll try to find a mail that goes back and forth. If I get into conversational mode, excuse me. Let's look for reply here. See this line here? When Shirley replied, it puts this line, and then every time you go back and forth, it increases the quote level. So I turn that off. I don't like to have that show up, because it can get really...
Well, if it was a chain of like 6 messages...
It'll be all the way over on the side.
You end up having 6 lines.
Yeah.
You know that it's 6 feet. So you may want it...
Yeah, but then when you try to copy and paste and all that, to me, it's my choice. I just don't like it. Well, okay, I'll show you two ways here. So let me go back to where it is. It was Shirley. So here's the increased quote level, right? This is a bad example because it's only one time. If you can't control them, but if you don't want to add to the problem, I'm perceiving it as a problem, you go in here and you say deselect increase quote level. And on your iPad, you go in here into Mail and you say increase quote level off. Okay? Now, that being said, if I want to reply to Shirley's email, notice how I didn't increase the quote level, but it's still here, but you want to clean this up, I can select all, and I go up in here to Format and go to quote level, and let's watch this little green line disappear when I say decrease quote level. Now I can copy and paste and it cleans it up really well. But let's say Shirley sent me this email and I only want to reply to this part. Look what happens when I highlight something and hit reply. It only puts in, down here, I'll turn my signature off to make it more apparent. It only highlights, only what you've highlighted is what gets put in the message. Go ahead.
Yeah, how about with VIP and flag? Give me an example of when to use those or how to use them.
All right, the question is flags and VIPs. Flags is just what it says. I can take an email and I can say, mark it with these colors so it can show up. I can also make a specific mailbox that says, hey, send all my yellow flagged items to here. But it's just for your own use, and then you can see that. A VIP would be one, you set this up as anything that comes from a particular person, you have it come into your VIP folder. Okay, this was, I was working on one special job where I had to make sure any emails that came in, I didn't want to miss them. It was just for one specific thing, so I put him in VIP, and it does it. It's just another way to filter the stuff for you. And again, remember, we have that incredible, useful search thing right up here.
Is that separate than the VIP for incoming phone calls?
That's favorites, isn't it? For incoming phone calls?
Yeah, it'll show up on my home screen that mom called or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't use the VIPs. Charles?
Can you comment on putting attachments and websites that you can click on and go to the website?
Sure. So Charles asked about putting websites into emails. That's great, and I'm glad you asked it. So there's two ways we can do things with websites. So I'm going to go to kenspencer.com. Okay. So if I want to send this email to someone, I'm going to do it on the Mac, and then I'm going to do it on the iPad. If I want, first off, I can highlight this by clicking and dragging and go to edit and say copy. It's on that ubiquitous clipboard now, right? So from there, I can go over to mail and fire up a new message. And just to make things look clean, I'll take that off. I'll come down here and say paste. Okay? A couple of steps is all it takes. And now when I send that, the person clicks on that and they'll go right to that address. So it's really simple. But Apple really likes it and wants to make it simpler for you. So if I go to a website and I go to this little arrow right here, this share arrow, and I say email this page. Now when I email this, and I cover this in my Safari class usually, but if I say email this page, there's the link right there. But in the newer versions, I can say instead of sending just a link, I can say send the whole web page, and it's all clickable links in the web page, and that's just this little tick right over here. This is new in Mavericks. Okay, so I didn't have to copy and paste anything. I was in Safari. Let's show you how it happens on your iPad. If you go to Safari, and I want to send this page, I go up here to this little indicator right here, and I click that, and I say mail, and look at that. It puts the link right in there, and I mail it to somebody.
Can you also do the whole message?
You can't from here, no, because it's a little bit too big for it. By the way, you can also message somebody that, like a text message. Okay? So, passwords are a pain. Many times in emails, in your email program, it's going to say, hey, I don't have your password. Please enter it here. If you see that little screen pop up, step back from your computer a second and realize it's probably not making the connection. Somehow in here, this is broken for a temporary time, and it only thinks you don't have the password because it's not seeing that server. So don't start entering your password and say save in keychain, because inevitably you're going to put in the wrong password. Restart your computer, step back for about 5 minutes. This happens a lot if you're on SBC, AT&T, Yahoo, okay? Other than that, it doesn't happen very often, but occasionally it's not seeing the other side, so it really has your password, but it just doesn't think it does. And I want to point out one last thing on the Mac that's very important. If it can't connect to the server very often, or it keeps trying and it times out, many times your mailbox will go offline. So you have to go up to mailbox and you can see it says it's grayed out. Take all accounts online is grayed out. If it's not grayed out, it means that one of your mailboxes kept trying to check, and it couldn't get through, so it shut down. So you have to make sure all accounts are online, okay? I don't know why, but it doesn't tell you if one of your mail accounts went offline. If it is offline, you'll usually get a little indicator over here, right in the side here, that'll be a little triangle with an exclamation mark in it, or a squiggly line. That means it's not connected for one reason or another. Charles.
Sometimes when I try to read a mail, on the touchpad, I go up to delete.
It'll say archive?
No, it deletes, but then it's so sensitive, I'll delete the next one.
Oh, you know what? Let's try it because I think there's a way, and it's interesting that people don't know this. I'll try. I'll go to Mail, and I can delete this eBay email, so I'm going to hit delete. Okay? Now, if I shake my iPad really quick, how do we undo on a Mac? Command Z is undo. On your iOS device, you shake it, and now I hit undo, and now it came back. Charles, good question. That was great, because that's if I'm copy and pasting, or let's say I hit, I'm going to do a new message, reply here, and I'm going to type blah, 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 and I go, oh, oops, I want to delete that. I shake it. I got to make it, come on, there, and undo the delete, or undo typing. Hang on, redo. Now, okay, to get used to this, everybody do this.
It seems a little harder.
No, it's not.
It's actually because it has an accelerometer in it. If you've ever used GarageBand on your iPad, if you hit the key on the piano, by hitting it harder, it makes it louder. But that's only because the iPad moves. Remember, this is not a touch screen. It's a capacitive discharge screen. You're not pressing the screen harder. It senses the movement and makes it harder. That's what makes these things amazing. Charles? Okay? Attachments in mail? Good last question. That's good last question, unless we have another one and we'll break first. But mail, I can drag attachments to it, or I go right up here and say attach, and I go find the file, and you do want to select Windows-friendly attachment. So that would attach it. The other way is to just simply go into a thing like this and drag any file you want over to here, and it will attach it. There are some issues with other people being able to see it. Al?
As far as undoing text and stuff, is that unique to iOS 7?
No, we've had undo for quite a while. Now, if you send a text, you said undoing texting, you can undo typing. Once you've sent the text, you're never going to undo that, so be careful. Don't forget, next month is Siri. I can't tell you how much Siri makes all of this easier. You never have to type again. You never have to do anything. I can simply say, send Al Trivet an email.
What's the subject of the email?
Just testing Siri.
Okay, what would you like the email to say?
Just testing Siri, comma, thanks for all your great questions today, exclamation mark.
Here's your message to Al Trivet. Ready to send it?
Yes, send it. If I'm using a headset
I'll send it.
or Bluetooth in my car, it reads back to me what it types. I also make appointments in my calendar that way. I'll show you one last one before we go here.
And that's just.
I'm going to get rid of Party of the Century. Schedule test on, oops,
When is your event?
Wednesday, February 12th at 10 a.m.
Okay. What time is the event?
10 a.m.
Okay, I can create your meeting. Note that you already have 3 events that overlap with this. Shall I schedule it anyway?
No, cancel.
Okay then, I won't create the event.
She used to say, oh, you're probably too busy anyway.
And you're not touching, a microphone or anything. I mean, are you?
My hands never left my wrist this entire time. No, initially I do to activate it, but after that, I'm waiting for her to ding ding. I wait for her to ding ding, and then I respond to it.
Wow.
Will you marry me?
I'm not the marrying kind, Ken.
It's not on your computer.
I don't have Siri here, but I have dictation, and I'm going to show you that when in a month too.
Not as good as Siri. It's
Well, see, Siri is artificial intelligence added to the dictation.
Can you add it?
I'll show you afterwards. No, you can't add it to your computer. Robert, thank you.
When
Okay, and then don't let me forget to quit recording, everybody.
when you make a calendar appointment, it's going off to North Carolina and coming back.
Correct. And anything, first of all, when you dictate, it already goes to Siri anyway there, because it has to interpret what I said. And remember, I said it's artificial intelligence, so watch this. I'm drunk.
Don't expect me to get you home.
Any other last questions? Go ahead.
So you're double